That RNC was something to watch. But if you were paying attention, the GOP is mainly interested in appealing to white men. No effort from Republicans to close a wide gender gap, and most notably, no mention of the word abortion.
Yeah, it was really obvious once they made the decision to pick J.D. Vance, who we called a MAGA misogynist, that this is the direction they're going in. It was a big FU to women in this country whose rights are literally under assault. Like, this election is about life or death for women in America and the attacks on our freedoms. And today is actually the 176th anniversary of the Seneca Falls Convention, which was the birthplace of the women's rights movement, which is why we at the Seneca Project, along with my co-founder, Michelle Kinney, thought it was really important to honor the legacy of those pioneering women and what they were fighting for. And that convention was a coalition effort. You had everyone from Elizabeth Cady Stanton to Frederick Douglass, abolitionists, all the way up through the movement over the next 100 years with Ida B. Wells and Alice Paul, and then the women in the recent modern history who have fought for women's rights. We need to honor their legacy and what they went through to get us where we are today, with now having to preserve this war on women coming from the Republican Party. I mean, women have been carrying this country on their backs whenever our country has been in trouble and needed them, whether it was in war or whether it was in times of struggle in this country. The women have stepped up and rescued this country. And for the Seneca Project, our mission to galvanize women in this election, explaining what's at stake, we're doing that so we can save democracy and save this country once again in November. Because the war on women coming from Donald Trump and the Republican Party is real. And we need to make sure women fully understand the stakes.
You know, Tara, I was on The Weekend earlier today, and I talked about the fact that it's such a huge tell, isn't it, that the failure to talk about reproductive rights and abortion, not only has the GOP let down their very conservative evangelical sect, right, of the cult, because they didn't make it a pro-life platform, but the tell is they don't talk about it because they know it's their Achilles heel. They know they've lost on it in midterms in 2022. They know that it's an unreasonable, ridiculously draconian stance to take in 2024. But I also mentioned that it's such an insult to the intelligence of the American voter. Do they think that nobody's been paying attention to what Donald Trump has said about abortion bans being federal, and we haven't been paying attention to what J.D. Vance thinks about abortion?
Right. It's like a collective amnesia, or they're just gaslighting us, thinking that women are stupid. We put an ad out during the convention about J.D. Vance called Meet J.D. Vance with all of, well, not all, just actually a tip of the iceberg of some of the important things that J.D. Vance has said. They want to send us back. Just like in our ad today that we released, we say we won't go back. Hell no. And it's voiced by the Emmy Award-winning actress Alex Borstein, who's on our advisory committee, and we adore her. The passion in her voice about not going back, that is reflective of what we are saying as women in this country when we see people like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and these MAGA misogynists constantly trying to take us back. It's bigger now than just reproductive health. That's the biggest one, the most obvious one that we've heard about. But they're going after no-fault divorce. They're calling us miserable, childless cat ladies. That's J.D. Vance's quote, by the way. Yep. They're trying to go after birth control. I mean, the list is getting longer. They want to subjugate women. And women are paying attention. And that's why at the Seneca Project, we are creating these ads and these messaging as women, speaking to women, highlighting their stories, highlighting what's at stake, and making sure that women are out there and vote. Take that fear to outrage to action. Because we are literally, there are more of us than there are of them. There's more women in this country. And despite all of the chaos that may be going on, women going to the ballot box in droves will save this country from MAGA.
And, you know, something that I witnessed that all of us did when you were tuning into the RNC this week was kind of a microcosm of, or a micro example of the dysfunction of the GOP. So it's not just us looking at the president and the vice president in terms of the ticket. We saw the ongoing feud between Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy play out on the floor of the convention, with Gaetz telling former Speaker McCarthy that if he took the stage, he would get booed off of it. I mean, again, this kind of dysfunction was a reminder that there are cracks in the unity of the circling of the wagons within the party itself. They may do the bidding of their cult leader, Donald Trump, but they actually don't get that unity that they talk about, that they're trying to achieve in America, which we know was BS, but they actually don't do it within their own party.
I mean, Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy, it reminds me of like the old days of the MTV death matches. Remember those cartoons? It's so absurd and ridiculous. And Matt Gaetz getting up there looking like some kind of cross between a Vegas washed up lounge act and Beavis and Butthead, giving a speech at the RNC. It's pretty rich considering his own history and troubles with the law. So they need to just, the two of them, it's not, these are not serious people.
Yeah, the Botox was something interesting. So we're going to expect to see Trump to be joined by J.D. Vance at a rally later today in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Your thoughts quickly, Tara, about the idea of finally seeing them together at a rally and whether or not that's going to resonate in any capacity.
Well, given that the RNC speech for J.D. Vance was a complete dud, the guy is a fake and a phony. He can't decide which J.D. Vance he is. He called Donald Trump America's Hitler at one point, for goodness sakes. And now look at what he's doing. I think that we need to believe J.D. Vance now because what he has been saying, what he's been doing, what he's been advocating. I wonder what his wife thinks of the positions that J.D. Vance has taken, considering they have daughters. It's just remarkable to see two of them together because now you have a full MAGA misogynist ticket. And that's what American women are going to see on display every time the two of them are together. It is exponentially worse for women. That's why we have to make sure that we support the Democratic ticket. We are hoping it's still Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but it is imperative, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, the threats to women's rights in this history transcend party lines. They transcend party lines right now in this country, and we need to make sure that we make the right choice while we still have that opportunity in November.
Well, all women, Republican, Democrat, independent, or otherwise, are supposed to be able to vote. But I've always said on my show here, Republican women get abortions too, so everybody needs to pay attention. Tara Setmayer, thank you. Right. And congrats on that awesome ad. Seneca Project, you guys are just really doing the Lord's work here. So thanks so much, Tara. Appreciate it.
Thank you. SenecaProject.us. Please support us. Join the fight.